committed fraud. You just saw it right up there. She's a fraud. This whole case is a fraud. It's election interference. It's keeping me here instead of Iowa and New Hampshire. You just saw it. The Attorney General's a fraud. She committed fraud.
You guys settle the case? Coming back after lunch? You coming back?
He's like a fascist wind-up doll. You pull the string and he just says the same things over and over again. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. That was Donald Trump coming out of court the end of last week during the testimony of an expert that was hired as part of his defense case. The expert's name was Eli Bartov. And on cross-examination by the New York Attorney General lawyer, we now learn that Eli Bartov was paid $900,000, or very close to $900,000 for his testimony. And he's supposed to testify on accounting principles, even though he previously testified in his deposition. And I quote that he was, quote, not really familiar with generally accepting accounting principles, yet he testified during last week that he, quote, couldn't find a single generally accepting accounting principle provision that was violated, even though he's not familiar with generally accepting accounting principles. More on that in a moment. But Donald Trump didn't pay this expert, Eli Bartov, or I should say so-called expert Eli Bartov. Donald Trump's Political Action Committee, the Save America organization, which I guess is purportedly supposed to raise money for his campaign and politics, or whatever the heck it's supposed to raise money for. Donald Trump, who claims to be a billionaire, is grifting off supporters who likely need that money so Donald Trump could pay someone who calls himself an expert, Eli Bartov, who is not really familiar with generally accepting accounting principles, and who also said that, yes, indeed, Donald Trump's triplex was inflated. There's no question about that. That's a direct quote from the testimony of Eli Bartov. But Bartov said, quote, the characterization of it as being 30,000 square feet when it was 10,000 square feet, that was, quote, an error, and errors like that are not unusual. Yeah, it happens all the time. People just mischaracterize residential versus commercial, or commercial versus residential, or 30,000 square feet versus 10,000 square feet, or that all of the units are occupied and have the highest possible value per square footage in the entire country, when in fact they're rent controlled and not occupied. These types of errors just happen all the time. Eli Bartov, who's paid $900,000 from the Trump Save America PAC. Here's Donald Trump as he was exiting the courtroom saying that the expert witness he hired found no fraud, so case closed, libs. Here, play this clip.
He reviewed fully the documents that this horrendous Attorney General put forth, and he found absolutely no fraud, accounting fraud of any kind.
And here's Donald Trump then saying that all businesses are going to leave New York if he loses this case. Newsflash, you've already lost the case on summary judgment. The court found that all of the undisputed evidence shows that you engaged in fraud. We're just talking about disgorgement now and other remedies. Here, play this clip.
Businesses are watching this case. No business will go back into New York. No business will, frankly, stay in New York. A lot of businesses are talking about leaving New York because of this action. This is a very serious action.
Back to Donald Trump's expert, Eli Bartov, who on cross-examination we learn was paid $900,000 by Donald Trump's Political Action Committee. If you went through one of the past operating expenditures of the Political Action Committee, you can see where Donald Trump is spending his money. He's spending it on his lawyers for the various cases, the cases where he's been found liable for sexual abuse and assault, as well as defamation. We can see the Tacopina firm right there that's getting paid nearly $2 million for just that period. You can see Alina Habba's firm is getting paid over $1 million. Was it $1.5 million? You know, by now it's probably double that or probably much more. And that's just for this reporting period. All of these law firms that represent Donald Trump, Donald Trump's witnesses in the case, co-defendants. That's how this money is being spent.
Oh, hey, when did you get here? Let's take a quick break to talk about our next partner, Henson Shaving. Look, everyone knows how annoying cheap razors are. The cuts, the irritation, the frustration. And don't get me started with subscription razor services, the headaches that those can cause. That's why you gotta meet Henson Shaving. Henson Shaving is a family-owned aerospace parts manufacturer that has made parts for the ISS. That's the International Space Station and Mars rover, and now they're bringing precision engineering to your shave.
Here I want to show you, this is when Alina Habba basically said that Donald Trump's a billionaire, and you see, because he's so independently wealthy, that's why he's using the Political Action Committee to pay for his experts and his legal bills. Alina Habba, by the way, as I said, just for that period made $1.5 million. My estimate is it's probably at least double that now or close to that, but play this clip.
Alina, let me get your take on the money being spent here on legal fees. Did you hear what Congressman Byron Donalds just said? He said that he believes the strategy of the Department of Justice is to bleed Trump dry, to bring so much legal issue and problems to Trump that he has to spend all of this money on legal fees. You are the general counsel of his super PAC. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the political committee has spent more than $40 million this year on legal fees as he and a constellation of advisors have been swept into these various investigations. How much has it been, and how are you directing the money in terms of paying for legal fees?
Tens and tens of millions of dollars, and I do think that that is part of the strategy. It is incredible. They have brought in people like myself who have nothing to do with these cases. I was not part of the administration, just so that lawyers have to get lawyers, and these lawyers cost money. And when you take a broad net and you try and intimidate anybody who is part of his circle, whether, I couldn't even say inner circle, Maria, it's gone further than that. You know, the valet at Mar-a-Lago, the chefs, the whatever. It's crazy. And it is on purpose. Nothing they do is not intentional. It's calculated, and it is to make him bleed. The problem is that President Trump is independently wealthy as well, and they forget that. And he has said at rallies, I will do whatever it takes. If it means I have to spend my own money, I will. He is very protective and kind and generous. And at the end of the day, they're going to try and take him down financially. And that's just frankly not a good angle. I don't know if they've seen, his wealth, but it's probably not the best angle to go at.
And here is Alina Habba once again defending Donald Trump spending over $40 million. And again, it's probably much more than that right now on lawyers. And she goes, hey, it's not illegal. He can do whatever he wants with it. Play this clip.
There's nothing illegal about this. And when you support the president, you support getting him into office. I think the one thing we can all agree on is they've weaponized the legal system to prevent him from getting into office. So the defense of the same, I don't see as problematic. And I know that legally it's not. And that's really all I'm going to say on that. But if you look at the numbers, I think it's just completely disgusting. But I also invite the public to look at the numbers that the DOJ is spending attacking President Trump.
I'm just thinking about, like, you are a supporter of a politician. You're giving money to the politician or whoever so that they can campaign or whatever you think the money's going to go. And then they take that money and then they use that money for an expert witness in a case where you've already been found liable for civil fraud for your own personal organization. And then the expert characterizes the fraud as mere errors that are not unusual. And on one of the central things that he's hired to be an expert on, says that he's not, quote, really familiar with generally accepted accounting principles. Is there anything more MAGA than that? But can I take that for a moment, though? Because I showed you all of those clips, and I just want to compare it to the speech that President Biden gave in Nevada. And I think it's really important for you to watch this. By the way, economic news has been great from last week. 199,000 new jobs were added. Unemployment's down to 3.7%. S&P's hitting record highs. Like, there's great economic news right now. And here, President Biden is in Nevada in this clip on Friday. And here he said, Trump talks the talk, but we here walk the walk. Watch this clip.
Just talks the talk. We walk the walk. Look, he likes to say America's a failing nation. Frankly, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I see shovels in the ground, cranes in the sky, people hard at work rebuilding America together.
Here, President Biden talks about how Donald Trump would always talk about Infrastructure Week and never do it, and now we're in infrastructure decade thanks to Bidenomics. Play this clip.
We're going to change the way people are able to live. Folks, all this project stands in stark contrast to my predecessor. He always talked about Infrastructure Week. 4 years of Infrastructure Week, but it failed. He failed. On my watch, instead of Infrastructure Week, America's having Infrastructure Decade.
And here President Biden talks about how while all these Republicans voted against Infrastructure Act and Inflation Reduction Act and everything, they're all out there asking for money for their districts. And President Biden says, I'll see you at the groundbreaking. Here, play this clip.
I see shovels in the ground, cranes in the sky, people hard at work rebuilding America together. Meanwhile, the vast majority of my Republican friends in Congress voted against the infrastructure law. But that doesn't stop them from calling up now and saying, hey, Mr. President, we need a project in my district. Well, that's okay. I promised I'd be president of every American. And like I said before, I'll see them at the groundbreaking. Folks.
Anyway, I thought it was important that I showed you that contrast right there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. Check us out. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Have a good one.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.